Hello, boys and girls. So today we are going to review the strategy of again and again. So please take out your again and again handout. And I would like for you also to have a pen and a highlighter. And you'll need your Esperanza Rising book at the end of this lesson. So as we talk today in class, again and again is when a phrase or a situation is repeated over and over throughout a novel. Maybe it might be within the same page or within the same chapter or chapter to chapter, but things are repeated. When things are repeatedly said or events repeatedly occur in a text, that is a signpost. It's a signal for us to stop and to pay attention. We need to ask ourselves, why is this coming up again and again? And the answer may foreshadow upcoming events. It may tell us something about the conflict, the plot, the theme, or the main character. So we're going to get started today. I'm going to read to you out loud if you will just read along with me. If at the beginning of your class your teacher mentions that you want to reread a certain chapter in a book, and later in class she mentions again that this chapter was very important, and then at the end of class she says one more time that it would be good to know the chapter, you might want to stop and ask yourself, why is she mentioning this again and again? If you're astute, you'll realize that she's giving you a hint that you might soon have a quiz over that chapter. It's human nature to mention important things again and again. So, we shouldn't be surprised when this happens in a book. The author might repeat one word. For instance, in The Giver by Lois Lowry, the word release is used again and again. You can't help but wonder why this one word keeps coming up so often. It must mean something important long before you figure out just what the word means. Other times, authors might repeat an event. For instance, in the book Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor, the group of black students that are walking down a dirt road get angry when a bus carrying white students drives past them and covers them with dust. Not too many pages later, the kids are walking to school again, and that same school bus drives by and they get covered in dust again. This time, they get even angrier. When they start walking to school the next morning, you already know that the bus is coming, and you realize that if they got angrier the second time, they'll probably get even angrier this next time. You also begin to see that it isn't the bus that's the problem. It's that the white kids get to ride the bus while the black kids must walk. What's hard about noticing again and again moments is that what's being repeated might have occurred one page or 3 chapters ago. So you really need to stay focused and alert as you're reading. When you do notice something that's happening again and again, be sure to stop and ask yourself, why might the author bring this up again and again? Let's highlight that final sentence. Why might the author bring this up again and again? So that's our anchor question. That's what we need to ask ourselves. Let's look at passage 1. Here's a scene from Writing Freedom by our author, Pam Munoz Ryan. You'll easily be able to spot the again and again in the first scene. The main character, Charlotte, is talking to Vern. So this first scene starts on page 38. I know, Miss Charlotte, said Vern. You got to do what your heart tells you. So that's the first scene. Now let's look at the second scene on page 40. This is Charlotte remembering Vern's words. She could still hear Vern saying, you got to do what your heart tells you. So that's 2 times now we've heard the same line. Now on page 99, we see, she took out her kerchief and dipped the corner in the water and wiped her face. What had Vern told her? She had to do what her heart tells her. So those 3 different examples all occurred on 3 different pages. First, page 38, page 40, and then page 99. Why is this showing up again and again? What do you think? Why do you think the author is showing us this over and over or repeatedly? Take a moment, pause the video, turn to the next page, and take some notes. Why do you think this moment with Vern is significant? What does it foreshadow? What does it tell us about the theme, the conflict, or the plot? Okay, hopefully you paused the video and wrote down your response on page 27. Now let's read what the author said. We're sure you saw those important words, you gotta do what your heart tells you, again and again. That's because we found the 3 scenes in which they were repeated and placed them one after the other. That certainly made them easier to notice. But when you're reading a book on your own, you'll have to keep your eyes open for things that occur again and again. Often, authors tell us the importance of again and again moments by repeating the words or phrases or events within a few pages or a few sentences. Notice that the second time the phrase comes is only 2 pages after the first time it was mentioned. The author really wants you to notice this. And when the third time this is mentioned is 59 pages later. The author helps us to remember this is again and again moment by writing what had Vern told her. Even if you can't remember the pages where you've seen this before, you remember that you've seen it before. So take a second and review what you wrote. Why did this come up again and again? Why did our author show us this? Maybe because Charlotte has some tough choices to make, and the advice to follow her heart will help her. This is also a strategy known as words of the wiser, and we'll talk about that later this week or next week. So let's look at passage 2 from Maniac Magee. I'll read it to you out loud, and I want you to highlight the phrase that comes up again and again. They say Maniac Magee was born in a dump. They say his stomach was a cereal box and his heart was a sofa spring. They say he kept an 8-inch cockroach on a leash and that rats stood guard over him while he slept. They say if you knew he was coming and you sprinkled salt on the ground and he ran over it within 2 or 3 blocks, he would be as slow as everybody else. They say. Take a second, pause the video, and think about why might this phrase, they say, keep coming up again and again. What does it show us about the plot, the conflict, the character of Maniac Magee, or even what does it foreshadow about events to come? Pause the video and write down your response. So hopefully you paused the video and you're now ready to move on. When we're reading this, immediately the phrase they say, we notice that that's repeated over and over. So the author probably includes this because they want us to know that they are spreading rumors. If you think about life and people are like, well, they said, or they think, or they say, who is they? You never know who they are, right? So that really is the author pointing out that it's important for people to separate rumor from truth. They are spreading rumors. Who are they? They are not saying truthful things about Maniac Magee. They say this phrase is probably repeated because the author wants us to know that the things that they're saying about Maniac aren't true. And as we keep reading, we'll keep that in mind. Some of the things that we read in the book about Maniac might be rumor, and some might be truth. But distinguishing truth from rumor will be an important theme in the book. So that is the concept or the strategy of again and again. So now what I want you to do is take out your Esperanza Rising book. In your book, I want you to locate places of again and again and places of contrast and contradiction and answer the anchor question. Why might the character be doing that when we get to contrast and contradictions? Or why is this coming up again and again when you get to the again and agains? Happy reading. I hope you enjoy your time.